Hey, good morning, neighbors. If you've followed any of my videos, I suppose what I'm trying to talk about is measurement sciences and what we do measure. Uh, it's quite extensive. We have satellites looking out, we have satellites looking in, we have all types of industries, we have our own sciences and institutions. Um, we measure everything from crowd reactions, herd behavior. We study things, we look at them, try to find ways to improve them. It's given us agribusiness and the ability to feed more people than the planet holds right now. So we're consuming mass quantities of elements from the earth. We dig up, we move them around, we restructure them, and poof, we have plastic. We've got all the goods on the store shelves. So at some level, like the steel industry, we need tin cans, whether they're aluminum or tin or steel. It's a good conversation, and we learn, make them better. But every one of those cans is a shovel full of earth from somewhere else on the planet. These materials don't know borders. It's kind of what civilization is about. The better we harvest, the more we can share, the more goods move and flow, the bigger we all get. So science understood this quite a while ago. Most scientists do, but when you go into a specialty, you begin to become pigeonholed. It's like anything you study. You begin to focus on it to huge amounts, and it becomes your life. You can do this with one book, you can do this with 1,000,000 books, but basically they're references from the past to help us into the future. So yeah, education's important, understanding's important, beliefs are important, but the beliefs need some foundations in reality, or else you're preaching. So caution out there. I am hard on faith and blind faith, so to folks that tuned out, and it looks like a lot did, I'm not apologizing. There's some beliefs that are wrong, and people need to get it. So, why does this matter? Radiation health sciences. In a radiological release, there is what's called a release inventory. It's our best estimate of what came from the reactions of a chemical and now a nuclear accident. Where did the materials go, and what does it mean to the public? So if you go and look at that nuclide list from Fukushima is a good example. There are quite a few versions of it out there, but the list should have well over 100 isotopes, depending on which list you look at. Now, somewhere someone's updating those lists too, against numbers that are being collected because of the decay properties of all those isotopes. And it is a sum. It's not individual, it is a sum. So by focusing on cesium, which the industry and the media has done, somewhere they're missing isotopes. I don't know what the extent of that is, but the ratio of cesium 135 to 138s to 137s to plutoniums to iodines to alpha, beta, and gamma emitters is massive, and you can't discount those. So what's interesting is you never see a health physicist walk into a conversation about Fukushima. Someone that is trained and well capable of discussing this, but it's not an easy discussion. It's not a short discussion you're going to have. You're going to have to listen to hours of physics and sciences on how a person has to go through a whole bunch of steps for dosimetry. And these are steps that also include chemical analysis for like heavy element poisoning, because most all of these things turn into something else that's not very friendly to the environment or life in general either, like heavy metals, lead, and seldom mentioned mercury comes out of these accidents because of the decay property of the elements involved. So now we have the ability to test isotopes across all types of elements. So now we're talking not only the periodic table of elements, we're talking a table beyond that. It's a table of isotopes. So every element has isotopes, whether they exist or not. Some of these are theoretical isotopes. They might exist for billions of a second. We might or might not have seen or measured them, but they're proven with math and statistics and not necessarily with measurement physics. So the chart looks massive, but the reality of it is most of those don't exist very long, so they don't have any isotopic abundance on the planet. So basically you can discount them or say don't worry about those as long as you're not near them during their half-life. So what does this all mean? 140 odd elements released from Fukushima. The ratios have been lost somewhere in time and not discussed in complexity because that matters. So we don't know what dosimetry is in Fukushima. We are being so misled about it because you have to do some isotopic ratio testing to understand where and what energies are being released near you. Now, there is a background. There always has been a background. So by knowing what the background was and what it is now, you have a good idea what this means. So in my conversations, I say we're being misled. I've said we're being lied to. We're not being told the truth, but it's such a complicated conversation that who do you have it with? My hope is that anybody that wants to get involved with anti-pollution activities goes after the sciences, the numbers that are past what we're being told or talked to about. Very tough. So you can see this conversation isn't a public on the street conversation, but it needs to be. It needs to be part of a general understanding or an acceptance there are people that do know what the hell we're doing. And I have little trust because I haven't seen these things put together. I've seen attempts to put them together. National Academy of Sciences had a major initiative to try to fix radiation readings and standardize them. And it's along the same lines we're trying to get rid of the SAE and go to metric. But we can't get rid of SAE because it's so embedded in culture, conversation, and the parts around you that now it's confusing. You have to have two sets of wrenches. You have to have metric, and you have to have the automotive standard, Automotive Engineering Society, US numbers. So we don't even all drive on the same side of the street. Does it matter? I don't know. Only if you're going to go to another country. So we are not being misled. We're not being lied to. We're not being told the whole story because of the complexity of it. And if you overreact to the complexity of it, we're not going to get where we need to be. This is not going to shut down overnight. You can't do that. They're two largest systems bound inside of other systems and passing big dollars up to politicians that are hard to see go by. So all that profit from federal contracts that's being given back to congressmen or PACs or political giving, my gosh. So you can't have a nuclear plant down the street and not have some level of understanding that it's a threat. It is an absolute threat if something goes wrong. Absolutely. it's a relative threat until something goes wrong, and the cost of that is pretty big. So we're at 10 minutes. I'm going to chop this and go back and look and see if it made any sense. And I am speaking a little faster because I did try to think about something before coming in, but hey, this is how it is. Get off my lawn.